Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Psychic Tarot Show here with Ashala on Saturdays, Beyond Mystic YouTube and Rumble channel, streaming live to you every Saturday, where we look at this upcoming week together as a group of like-minded, like-hearted citizens of planet Earth here. So we've got some really big topics on the agenda. It's so lovely to see familiar faces tuning in. Lupo, Rachel, Bjarni, welcome from Los Angeles, from Yorkshire, Prescott, Arizona. Lots of messages already in the comments talking about the situations in California with the fires. And I'm definitely going to spend a little bit of time looking at that from this perspective of our collective guidance at this moment. What do we need to be aware of, and how do we move forward in a good way? Hello, Frederick. Art for Life. Welcome, everyone. So I'll take a moment, of course, as always, to invite you to follow us over here on the Beyond Mystic YouTube channel. And alternatively, you can find us right here, Beyond Mystic Rumble channel. And you can find me here on the Beyond Mystic Consultations page. You can book a 1-hour session with me, and I've been pretty booked up this first couple of weeks of January, but I do have some spaces coming up now, next week, and the week after. So would love to see you over there. Hello, Angela. Hello from Alabama, Western Washington. Welcome. Let's begin. I'm going to change the screen here so you can see the cards a little larger. And while I'm shuffling, let's really align our energies together around this time. We're looking at this upcoming week, takes us all the way to the 18th of January, and we've been hearing so many things about the month of January 2025. We've been hearing, obviously, what's going on politically in the US. We are looking at astrologically all kinds of very potent configurations, as always. Oh, they want a little more shuffling today. There's so much to consider. And, you know, I don't know about all of you, but I find it some of the most interesting balancing work of these times is, how do I care for what's going on out in the world and the larger global stage? Also care about what's going on in my own area, my own country, my own region, my own locality and community, and then balance that with what's going on in my own inner spiritual world and my closest relationships. And we know it's all connected, but we don't always know how to connect it all. Good morning, Melbourne. Crypto Frosty, welcome. Early morning where you are. Let's have a look at our wheel for this week. So we're starting off with a clarification. Ace of Swords, clarity in the House of Aries, the self, the personality. It's kind of like, let's cut through the BS. There's a lot of willingness to be very, very discerning at this time. And this isn't just us. This is most of humanity is in the mood to get down to brass tacks, as we used to say. Let's get down to business. Clarification, willingness to cut away that which no longer serves us, willingness to be very decisive, discerning. Those are key words for this week, everybody. You know, sometimes we have the courage to tackle that, and sometimes we don't. This week, we do have the courage to tackle that, both personally and then on a more global level. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's some real emerging clarification, especially around what's going on in California at this time. Some real big truths coming out. And then we have also in this card, or sorry, in this house of Taurus, which is a lot about our resources, are feeling sort of supported and grounded. And it's like everyone is jumping in where they can. I feel like there's a lot of productive action this week. Obviously, if you're in one of these crisis locations on the planet, that productivity can look like rolling up your sleeves and helping out. Um, if you're not in one of those more crisis oriented places right now, the productivity feels like it is gathering what you have at your disposal, your own plan of action, and really getting a lot accomplished this week. So this is especially around resource management, so money, investments, but it's more like your budgets and your working plan that's getting honed this week. A lot of productivity. We could get a lot of work done on every level that has to do with resources and safety. Okay. Then right beside that, 8, we have an 8 there, 8 of Pentacles. Now we have 8 of Wands besides. So 2 8s side by each, a lot of momentum. So I feel like in the truther community, we've been waiting for this critical turning point where so many people, there's so much information out on even mainstream media that we hit a critical mass. What I'm being shown this week is to notice the momentum. Notice how fast when there are events, there's like the responses and the I want to say a lot of the information, and not only that a lot of information is released, and there's a lot of massive amounts of disclosure in the back channels, but also that people are like, there's decisive action about what to do about it. So we're noticing a building momentum of change in a positive way. So it feels important that we just stop for a moment and notice, like I'm seeing comparisons with what's happening in LA to Maui, right? What happened. And so regardless of where you are on the spectrum of believing that narrative 100%, I certainly feel personally like there's much truth to that. Regardless of where you are, notice how differently the public is responding. There, of course, there's the same usual pitfalls as things happen, but notice how quickly there's a turn of sort of momentum towards bringing things out in the open. This feels important to me. So we're building momentum. It's sort of like the old-fashioned, steam engine, slowly chugging along, and then as it gets going, it starts going faster on its own, inertia gets moving, right? We are busting through inertia, basically, because this is in Gemini. So ideas, communication, truths, messages, breaking the inertia lock, right? Locked in inertia. Oh, another major big building block of magic. I mean, we got the magician and he's in the house of home. So they're saying don't underestimate what you can do on your computer this week from home. You could make huge shifts with how you share information. Maybe you're going to write something to put in a different chat place, or like it just feels like the power of your written and spoken word that's shared this week is going to be adding to that building momentum. So far, we're really looking at um, a lot about the building energy of bringing at least a huge amount of awakened dialogue to the mainstream. That feels like big moves, big maneuvers this week for all of us. Yeah. Thanks, Earth Dragon. Show the love and hit that like button. So let's see what's coming towards us. What are we opening our arms and our hearts to receive? Wow. So, Four of Wands. Four of Wands in the House of Leo. Receptivity is big. We are receptive. People are receptive to hearing truth. And I know there's a lot of yawns and a lot of whatever. I give up. I'm tired of trying to talk to people. Um, be prepared. I know I just had a cool conversation with my daughter last night who came home from her workplace, which is a mixed bag of different people with different viewpoints. And she was like, wow, it felt like every conversation she had ended up going toward, what used to be called conspiracy and is now emerging reality. And she was like, she wasn't even trying to make that happen. It was literally like she just felt like she was being propelled in. And she said, that's new. That is not normal at her workplace. So something's happening. There's a receptivity, there's an opening, a window. Yeah. So now we look at, so that's the House of Leo, by the way, which is a lot about us being I want to say extroverted enough to take advantage of these windows of opportunity. And you can say, well, a big deal. So this person that I met at my workplace or through a friend or something, and we had a big conversation, but they're like this much awake. It's like whatever, as if that's going to help. Please, please do not underestimate the importance of every one of those little activators. They're telling me to yell that in a loudspeaker. Revolution is not one decisive moment or action. It is a decisive moment, but it is made up of a million little actions. So the real success of a transformative revolution is the turning point where that momentum has built to a crescendo where all these little actions start adding up in a very big way. Yeah. Okay. Susan is saying, I'm going to just put her comment up here. Found sleepers talking about Agenda 2030 this morning in regards to fires. There is hope, right? And the other thing, I'm going to leave that up there for a little bit. Thanks, Susan. The other thing I think that's very curious, and some of you may know, I just had a recent visit with Janine. She came and spent some time with me at my house for a couple of days. We had an awesome time, of course, incredible sharing and conversations. And this was one of the things that we were just delighting in recognizing. You just don't know how and what will be the catalyst to start the process for people. And it could look like they're just having this tiny little revelation, but for them it's really big to be able to say, you know what, I can look that. Yeah, look at Tristamy is saying re-evolution, right? I'm just going to put that up. Or Triestemia. Sorry, I'm probably not saying your name right, but our evolution, revolution, our evolution. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, look at this. Someone is commenting here. Thank you for your wisdom about North Node enters Pisces today, waking up, awakenings. Yep. So that's what we've got here. Now, what do people like when they're waking up? That's so funny. I don't believe the way the guides talk sometimes. They're saying, what do we want to have when we wake up? We want to have something nice to eat and drink and like, um, so there's something about giving people something that they can do tangibly. Um, and yeah, almost like grounding all of this truth into something where you're going to make a small change this week. And interestingly, this card has to do with health and lifestyle. And it comes in the house of Virgo, which is about our daily activities and our health. Curious. We've got health and lifestyle card, that little page of pentacles in the house of habits, lifestyle, and health. So to me, this is also where we're taking an opportunity this week to just take one more little small step in the direction of adjusting our reality, our physical reality, to align more with where we believe our value lies in the future. So if you were to say, what does my lifestyle look like in the ideal new earth or new paradigm earth, or however you want to describe it, 5 years from now? What does it look like 5 years, 10 years from now? What am I doing with my days? And what am I consuming? Am I living the same lifestyle where I'm ordering takeout 3 nights a week? Or am I like, wow, I suddenly have a little bit of a garden and I'm cooking at home more and I'm taking time to have these nourishing activities with family, with grandchildren, whatever that looks like. So it feels like you're staking a little bit of a claim on what your future lifestyle and habits look like. Isn't that a nice balance with all of this awakening, like this energy of building momentum around bringing awareness to the masses and people opening their eyes when they wake up? Okay, so just think about, again, you're waking up, and do you want to look over and see everybody that's awake just gnarly and miserable looking and stressed and anxiety filled and like stuck to their computer? Or do you want to see them like growing food and playing with their grandchildren and like, practicing healthy habits while researching and staying on top of the intel? And then you're like, how did they do that? How did they do that? I mean, and we're there behind the scenes going, yeah, well, we got good at it over the last 5 years, to actually do it. How you show up as an awake person right now is actually almost tipping a little more in significance as to what intel you bring. How do you bring it? How do you hold it? If people look over and see you holding it, you're actually getting healthier, stronger, more spiritually aligned. Your finances are diversifying in all these new currencies. They're just like, wow, I want to be like that. That's the next step with waking up, right? Okay, so now we look at connections and relationships. All right, so we are foundation building this week, folks, around any sort of adjustments to significant relationship contracts. So this is about business contracts. This is about business partnerships. It's about serious, like, life partner type of relationships and agreements around that. House of Libra. There's a lot of going back to the drawing board this week. This isn't the time to take your, whether it be in your business world or in your relational world, it's not the time to reach out and say, here's my proposal, here's my intention, or here's how I want to adjust what's going on. This is the time to go back to source, go back to yourself and look at, build the foundation of where you stand in this relationship, in this business, in this going forward in this chapter, and work a little bit more on that. It's foundation building is what I'm hearing the guides are saying. Do some foundation building so that you're ready Now, interesting, when we go back into crisis and places like California that are in crisis right now, this is also about allies. And again, we're sort of like foundation building. So there's something about getting the basics, getting some foundations established, getting some um, support systems in place, right? And there's something so sobering about this because I feel as though as we're responding to these crises, we actually get to see ourselves in our most sort of essential role of what we do well under pressure is what we do well in the world, kind of as a given. It's sort of like our baseline. So there's something about as you're going through perhaps being in one of these frontline crisis zones right now, noticing where your strengths are, because this is going to be valuable later on. This crisis will pass. Okay. I know it feels like you're really in, and my heart truly goes out in empathy for anyone that is on the front line of any of these crisis events on earth right now. And I also see your strength and your some of your greatest foundational strengths rising, emerging from this crisis so that you know yourself from that vantage point. And then down the road when the crisis passes and things are, you know, coming back into some kind of frequency of a new normal, that you know who you are, you know what your strength is under pressure. And this is going to be so valuable in how you design your life from this point onwards. Yeah, lovely. Okay, let's keep going. In the house of Scorpio, death and rebirth, endings and new beginnings. There is some loss. There is some loss. We're all feeling it. What it's like, how do we stay balanced in not bypassing the grief, because grief is so important, and there are stages to grief. If you're not familiar with that, see if I can pull it off the top of my head. There are the stages of um, denial, and then anger, and then justification or bargaining, and then deep sadness, and finally a kind of surrender that is actually about discovering value and gratitude for the preciousness of life. It's really a process. We go through this process of grief, and it's an initiatory journey. It takes us on a journey within ourselves. So there's a dignity in grief. It is very tragic when we have losses, and also in those times we discover who we really are. Yeah. Okay, so we have grief, and yet as we grieve and give time for that process, the whole process to finish, work its way through, um, then there's the new possibility. See, he's looking down at the three spilled cups in remorse or sorrow or sadness or despair. However, as you turn the corner, what emerges is the new you. What you've learned going through the grief process has developed you, especially if you really let yourself go all the way through it and don't get stuck in revenge or counterattack, right? The challenge with grief is sometimes we act out our grief before we've processed it entirely. And then that becomes, the terror and the trauma of ongoing warfare. So metabolize the grief. Take the time to allow it to be there. Don't try to run from it, and don't try to act on it right away. It's going to actually, deepen you as a person. And then your strength, what you grow from these experiences becomes part of the momentum that continues to drive this engine of change. Wow. Okay. Whoa. All right. Interesting, interesting, interesting. Okay, I'm just going to move this down a little wee bit so you can see these top cards a bit better. And I'm going to change this sign. Where is it? Okay, there we go. So we are looking at the House of Sagittarius right here. We have the Hierophant, our Hierophant in Sagittarius. Well, the Hierophant is traditionally institutions, cultural institutions. It can be religion, it can be schools and hospitals and so on. Um, Interesting. When we're talking about schools and hospitals and institutions, cultural institutions, it feels like there's some kind of breakthrough momentum with regard to how people are going to be responding to crisis in these traditionally very, let's just say, bureaucratic, institutionalized institutions, right? I think we're going to see a lot of radical breakout in schools, hospitals, responders in these crisis places. And, we've all been talking about how, of course, we sit on that precipice or that balancing point between still some dark force agenda that you could say, well, these fires and the manipulation in order to push forward these agendas of, 15-minute cities and so on and so on. And then we have the other version, which is, well, we have to clear the swamp. And part of this is about bringing a lot of the underground to the surface and clearing the energy. So that's sort of like, in a way, the spiritual warfare going on behind the scenes, this sort of, battle, if you like to call it that. But in the front lines, I really am seeing that people are stepping out. Like there's more breakthrough, let's just say rebelliousness. And you can look at it and go, oh, well, yeah, we've got chaos, we've got looting and all this, sort of anarchy. But there's also breakthrough opportunities for rebellious response that could direct systemic change in a whole new way coming up here. Yeah. So, yeah. Spicy Dame, I'm spitting nails. I'm so upset about the fires. Yeah, right. So, yeah. So thank you for that. I'm just reading comments and trying to kind of get a feel for where this is landing for many of you. And there's room for all the feelings. We're talking about the emotion of grief here, right? And there's going to be anger. There's absolutely going to be anger. I also want to just look here. Hierophant knowledge is about to be released to the public, right? So there's a whole, whenever you have a tarot card in a position, there's so many ways that you can read it. It's like saying maybe 3 or 4 or 5 or more different things. And I know that's confusing for a lot of you because you're like, okay, that's just too complicated. But it's actually not complicated because a lot of these things, it's sort of like the layer cake or, the nesting dolls. It's like they're all related. All these things are related. So I get that, yeah, we're talking about institutions. We're talking about the breakthrough of, truths coming out around like the hierarchy and the institutions that have been kind of, holding us hostage and so on and so forth. It's also about what we believe has value in terms of tradition and culture. This is a culture card above everything else. It's a spiritual culture card. So where do we go for our spiritual cultural grounding and balance and nourishment during these pressing times? And I feel like we are showing up here as a community looking for the resources, the new cultural narrative. We are literally creating a new culture here that is it has a lot of ingredients of some of the old things that held people together, like community and shared values, traditional values. It has a lot of spiritual ethics, that shared common spiritual ethics, and so on. So we are, with this Hierophant in the house of Sag, we are looking at our own spiritual values and what we believe in and what we turn to in times of crisis. And I'm not saying that, Beyond Mystic is the place, but I'm saying that we are redesigning what spiritual, traditional, cultural values look and feel like. And there's work to be done in that area, because when people are in crisis, they don't just need food and shelter and water. They need community, care, and some process of spiritual support, right? So just to consider that. I don't really have a sense of exactly how that's going to go, but it does feel like, I'm being shown the story of like, you don't really know what you believe, and then at the moment you're crossing over and leaving this earthly body behind, suddenly you know who you're praying to. It's like, I feel like something about the crisis that we're in is helping us to learn about what we believe in. Yeah. And I feel like the guides are saying it's okay at this time to kind of take a bit from maybe 2 or 3 different sources and put together your own kind of spiritual, traditional value system. We don't have to buy any of the traditional or world religions in their entirety and say, oh yeah, I'll follow every one of your directives, because that's the only way I'm going to be able to communicate with your version of God and, be received in the afterlife in that way. And I feel like we're being cared for right now by the opportunity to look at how we design what matters to us. And the crisis helps us get closer to that. So I don't have all the answers for that, but steady as we go. 7 of Cups in the highest position. Okay, so let's call this. This is in the house of Capricorn, and I'm going to say existential crisis. This is where we go. Who am I? A week ago, I thought I knew what I was going and who I am and what I'm meant to do, and all of a sudden, it's all changing again. Now, interestingly, when I look at this card beside this one, I feel like it's like, who are we following? Who are our leaders? Who are our mentors, our heroes? It feels like a week to do some just sort of inwardly imagining who you would like to follow their example. Who are your heroes? Not who do you worship, but who do you see yourself modeling some of how they live and work in the world? And that's going to help alleviate this, because it's like we're a little bit out of focus, and that's a lot of this Piscean energy too, right? We're a little bit overwhelmed with, who am I and what am I here to do? And there's always these moments in our spiritual path where we get sort of activated, and yeah, there's a lot of anxiety. Okay, now we are looking at Two of Wands in the House of Aquarius. Wow. Wow. Okay, so you notice this card, he's got a high vantage point, right? He's taking the high road. He's actually not looking down on others, but not waiting for everybody. So, what I'm getting is, especially in our community, there's a tremendous percentage of leaders. And if you wait for everyone in order to move forward, I hear that everyone is like, well, I don't want to leave people behind. Um, and what I'm being shown is that as you go forward in leadership, people will find a way to you when it's their time. Mhm. We're not talking straight lines, right? It's always so interesting because I think we sometimes get a little righteous, like, wow, I've been awake and I've done all this work on myself, and like, man, it's going to take these other people forever to catch up. But how many times in your life have you noticed, you thought you knew a lot about something and you trained a newcomer to it and suddenly they excelled you? So it feels really, this is saying, because this is in the house of friendship and allies and networks, like, don't pay so much attention, don't worry so much about what other people are doing. Follow your own lead. Follow where you're led. Look ahead to where you're leading. Maybe, if you have one other person beside you, that's enough. And forge ahead. Have that big picture, higher perspective, and the ones that are meant to follow you will find you, is what I'm hearing. It's really beautiful, actually. Very, very beautiful. Hmm. Let's just take a little moment here to remind you about what's happening on the Beyond Mystic Academy. Well, here we go. I'm really excited to share this with all of you. Oh, how do I make this go bigger? Hold on a second. This one. Oh. Give me a second. All right, I've got to change that, and then I add this. There we go. Woohoo! Did it! Yay! So here we have the Pluto in Aquarius live workshop with Meg Moonbeam. And I was just chatting with her on the As Above, So Below show, and she was just describing a little bit of what she's doing in this live workshop. Obviously, it's live tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you purchase this master workshop, you're going to, even if you can't attend live, you're going to receive, the review, the recording of it. She's saying here it's perfect for both beginners and astrology enthusiasts, and it'll empower you to navigate the 2024 to 43 Pluto and Aquarius transit with confidence and clarity. And this gives also insights into how this transit impacts your health, your finances, work, and love. And it's personalized for all 12 zodiac signs, including remedies to overcome challenges and harness opportunities. I mean, Meg is just phenomenal, isn't she? I feel we're so blessed to have her in our community and her offerings on our academy. And I, for one, am going to be jumping on this and taking advantage of it. Definitely. So that's very, very cool. And of course, if you want to have a session with me, you can find me here, the Beyond Mystic Consultations page. I forgot to put my banner below. Just give me a moment and I'll put the banner up so you can get a 10% discount on that session. And let me just find the banner and I'll put that up so you can find out how to do that. Yeah. And of course, please remember to like and share here on the Beyond Mystic Rumble channel and over on the Beyond Mystic YouTube channel as well. Here it is. Like, share, and subscribe. You can find us right here on YouTube. So we're coming into the home stretch, everybody. I'm going to see if I can find that banner to put it below. I apologize for not having it up there. It is the banner where you can receive a 10% discount with me. And looking for it. There's a lot of banners here to go through. There it is. Oh, that's Megan Ashala. Here it is. Here's Ashala. Got it. So let's finish out our reading. There we go. And I'm just going to take that comment off. There it is. Love it. All right. So we had this Two of Wands in the House of Aquarius, speaking about keeping this big picture, bird's eye view on things and not waiting for everybody to align with where you are. Yeah, it's interesting that, really all you need is one buddy and head in the direction of where you're being guided. And others will eventually find you there. Here's another two. Interesting. Okay, so we've got two twos beside each other. You notice how we have two eights beside each other right here. We've got that Eight of Pentacles here and the Eight of Wands here. And now we've got two twos beside each other, Two of Pentacles here and Two of Wands. So we've got doubles of Pentacles and Wands right near each other. So first of all, what that's telling me is we're really looking at a balance between our motivation, our energy, our inspiration, and our 3D practical reality. So we're going to see change emerging in 3D. And we're meant to continue to hold the line energetically and spiritually. A lot will, once change begins to manifest, by the time it manifests in material reality, it's under such a momentum of breaking the inertia that it will just it'll all just unfold. We won't have to try so hard anymore. So when is that happening? Well, over the next couple of months, we're going to see more and more easeful transitions in 3D, meaning we're going to see literal change in the material world. And then it's going to continue to pick up momentum over the next 7 or 8 months. And by year 2, we are literally I want to say, we are able to completely sustain an alternative paradigm, is what I'm hearing. So by doing it and continuing to work on building this momentum, every little, the revolution is a million little actions that all build up to one giant crescendo, right? So we're going to start to feel that. It can feel a little crazy making right now. So the twos are about balance, unification, but they're also about contrast and polarity. So you might feel like you've got, again, a foot in both worlds. Keep the high perspective. You could be like, well, you know, am I ever going to have others, my family members, my friends, lifelong friends? Am I ever going to have these people on side with me again? And I just keep hearing like, um, it's sort of like, don't expect, but prepare to be very pleasantly surprised. So we don't have to hang our hat on that and be disappointed if we're not seeing that, but be prepared for things to really quickly evolve in a good way. I know that's been probably one of the greatest learning experiences for me over the last 5 years is that, some part of me thinks things are so broken, it's going to take forever to fix them. And then just when I think I've given up on even hoping, I see all this stuff happening really quickly and I'm like, "Oh, or not." I didn't see that coming that way, right? It's often a bit of a surprise when things do unlock that timing piece. And here we have this is the house of Pisces. So we're coming in and out of, they're going like lockstep. So, uh, it's almost like wriggling out of something. And we're going to be talking more about the year of the snake, which starts at the end of this month. It's like we're wriggling out of that old skin, and the new skin is so strong and healthy. So the old skin just is not going to hang on much longer. It's just going to become unnecessary. But we got to wiggle a bit to get out of it. So that's what this feels like. And you're getting that feeling this week. There is a sense of instability, but it actually drives you back to the drawing board. So there's a lot about stabilizing through just it, get down to business, be productive. If you feel unstable, get productive. If you feel unstable in your relationships, go back to, you know, reconstructing the baseline of what it is that you want to establish and design that from within. The final card, oh goodness, leaving us on a cliffhanger. Oh my. Okay, well, I can't just leave us like that. So I think we better add, a clarifier. Okay, everybody breathe. Another clarifier. Everybody breathe. The next 9 days to 2 weeks, we're going to need to do a lot of breathing. Yeah, because I feel like there's cataclysmic events, and I don't mean complete destruction and tear down and the worst case scenarios, but I mean more and more. Even when I was talking about revolution is a million little things, so is de-evolution. And like, we want to visualize these old structures coming down, but not just crashing down. Because, if you knock a building over, it's going to hurt all the people that it lands on when it falls, right? So we want to like dismantle it, but there's going to be some pretty big disruption in the next 9 days to 2 weeks where part of the building is like exploding. I don't know why I'm saying that, but I feel like something is going to be disrupted in a very big way. That is, it's almost a little bit of a feeling like a 9/11 moment where there's some big iconic building that is disrupted in some way. Just saying that there's something like that, but look at what happens. Oh my gosh, it's like a defining moment. It's a defining moment in human history. So it is time for this defining moment. And I think within 10 days, we're going to really feel like, wow, life is never the same again. So if you look back on some of the defining moments in the last 25 years, definitely 9/11 and maybe the economic crash in 2007, 8, and obviously what happened in 2020, right? So I think we're at the precipice of another really big defining moment here. But please do not see it as like it's the event that is kind of like the final straw, and it's but it isn't that that creates the change. It's all we're already the momentum is going so strongly that it's just uh, a large sign that we're really moving energy. And it's interesting because the guides are taking me back to those earlier events. And even though we look at them as big maneuvers for the dark force, that they really, took a giant leap and made this big move on the chessboard. They did that because they were up against the wall. So all these things that we think are these massive moves are actually more or less extreme actions out of desperation. And it's been that way for quite a long time. So, yeah, look at this. It ends on this note of the celebration of the beginning of the new. And pretty big stuff, people. Just gonna come on over here and check in with some of your comments and see how this is landing. Okay, people are saying stay off planes and out of big cities. It's the spark, the domino. Yeah, as Cliff says, get your snacks ready. And Kim saying, wow, it's time. Kept coming to me this week. Inauguration, the Capitol, our Pearl Harbor moment. We're in for a ride. Yeah. Okay. So, and maybe some truth coming out about 9/11. Wow, your comments are amazing, by the way. You're all just, yeah, like I couldn't have said it better. You're all just like activating this. So we had the Tower card in the middle. I think if I hear right, Janine's been pulling this a lot lately too. And then we've got, almost like we're waiting to see what the aftermath is going to look like. And then we're just going to hear this uprising roar of humanity's heart opening. And all in a day's work. We will see you here. I'll be seeing you here with Meg on Tuesday. And then next Friday, I'm starting to do the Intuitive Fridays with Penny Kelly. This is going to be beginning, and let me just see if I can remember correctly. I think it's 2 p.m. Right, 11, 12, 1, 2. Yeah, 2 p.m. Eastern Time on the Beyond Mystic channel. And we're going to be having some really, Penny Kelly and I don't know each other, but I can already tell we're going to get along just great. And I think we're going to have some really incredible synergistic kind of putting together the pieces that we've gathered to present you with what is coming forward as what does the future look like. Beyond these major crisis points, how do we start sort of grounding that future in and looking at starting to live it now, even in the crisis time? So super exciting. Looking forward to that. I wish you all many, many blessings. Have a beautiful week. Stay grounded. Stay in your hearts. Stay connected to communicating. Don't worry about what your role is. Just follow the vision of where you're being guided. Have a beautiful week amidst it all. Powerful week.